running through the agenda real quick. Any discussion items? We have a lot of things happening with important items with the opening of the school year. We had our new student orientation last night. We had over 1,000 people here. It was Steve was here. It was pretty neat, wasn't it?
It was awesome.
Yep. Corey Boyd was here. Dennis was here. Appreciate you guys coming. It was really unbelievable. We had about 600 parents in here for the parent meeting. They were standing room only. Wow. We had 3 of the chairs set up, and it wasn't enough. Not even close. We are enrolling a record 441 is the number that's supposed to arrive as new students on Tuesday. To put that in perspective, we just graduated 230. Previous class was right at 234-ish, and then our current senior class would be 330. So that's all good news. I have a few events. If you go down to the events there, Michael.
Yep.
Important items and stuff coming to ECTS. I threw a couple flyers on there. We got scheduled our first golf outing. Where are you going, buddy?
I was going to say, where are we going? I'm sorry.
Go to his.
Important items coming to ECTS.
Oh, there we go. All right, thank you.
There you go. So we have our, golf outing September 21st at Whispering Woods. We have our Diggers and Dumpers Heavy Metal Rodeo. It's going to happen out back on the 28th and 27th and 28th, really. And then we're going to do a community open house and alumni kind of connection event on October 2nd. So those are some events coming up with the new renovation. We did the ribbon cutting last night. I thought it was a great soundbite Kendra did as a student representative for us, and it was out there on Erie News now, so that's good, and so forth. So we move into operations. We have on the agenda revising the SBO. We had done 210 days. We're going to back that off to 195 for the SBO contract. If you guys are all in agreement there, it was in order to get the person that we wanted to get, basically. We actually offered the job to an SBO out in Fort LaBeouf, and he turned us down based on the day and the pay. So with the revision, we'll still get everything we wanted and more, moving it back to 195 days. A few other things on there. The big one probably is the Titan agreement. If you recall, last October, we came to you with a Titan agreement to help with all the technology upgrades with the renovation. That agreement is ending, so now we have a revised Titan agreement on there. Mike, will you pull up that? Do you have the data that you talked about as you collected?
The data.
There it is.
Yep.
That's what I was looking for. So 10 years ago, in 2014, where were we at? Number of computers, number of devices, that kind of stuff going on in here. We kind of put that as part of the motion. So with the Titan agreement, we're committing to, what is it, 5,400 a month? It's up on the top.
5212
a month for their support in total cybersecurity assurance, cybersecurity awareness, firewall monitoring, IT support, and so forth. There's a number of hours per month we can call on them to come up and help and triage and so forth. When you look at where we were 10 years ago to now, 10 years ago we had 309 student devices with a tech director and a half-time technician. That was the year then we went and made him a full-time technician for Andy Fair as our IT technician. So then 5 years ago we were at 349 with 1.0 tech directors and 1.0 FTE of an IT technician. And now we're at 625 devices between student and staff. Now that doesn't count all the upgrades of security cameras and phones and HVAC and lighting and door access and all of that is now on control systems that are all now technology based. So that's where we're kind of going and saying hire another person or use VNet and so forth. Last year we paid for VNet out of the construction cost. This year we can do it again for one more year since we're just closing out that construction cost, and then it'll be in the annual budget moving forward starting for the 25-26 annual budget. Anybody have any questions on that?
Is there a clause to get out if we decide to go a different way?
Yes, there is a clause. With the agreement, is the agreement attached or no?
The agreement was not attached.
You don't have the agreement attached. With the agreement, I think it was a 30-day notice.
Yes,
basically,
that sounds right.
to take it off. So all of our cybersecurity is wrapped in this as well. So we're not only just getting the support of 1 to 2 people that can work remotely or on site when needed, we also have all of our cybersecurity infrastructure in this cost as well. So
So does this get us a discount with our insurance carrier? Do we meet the cyber requirements for our?
this doesn't just get us a discount, this gets us a cyber insurance. So in case you guys weren't aware,
You didn't have
we did not have cyber insurance because we did not have the minimum to qualify for an insurance policy. So that is where we were last year, where we were bringing them on and saying, we got to get this overhaul in IT in order to even qualify for the cyber insurance. And so we just did that cyber insurance policy, if you recall, back in June. For this school year, we finally qualified. So it doesn't get us a discount on that. We're just happy to be able to have that and be legally in compliance. But it's actually in compliance and more with that. So we have their full force of protection. They actually gave us several proposals, and the proposals were twice as much money. As you can see, we were $96.27 per month in the last year. They were gave us 3 proposals that were just less than that, and then both above it for support. And we pushed it back on them 3 times and said, no, we can't do that. There's no way we can do that. So ultimately, the discussion I had with Mike and our team was, are we hiring somebody or are we using them? You got to make a decision, because that's really where we're at. Are we hiring another IT technician to help us with all our stuff and then buying the stuff ourselves, or are we going through them? And we felt very comfortable with VNet and that level of protection. Any further questions there? Okay. Next item I want to bring up is the cosmetology instructor stipend. So our cosmetology program has always taken student teachers, and they've done it without any compensation or stipend. They came to me and said, we have 6 people waiting to be student teachers. We want them to do that. They're our former students. We don't want to tell them no, but there comes a lift that, is extra time and effort for us. On one side, it's helpful to have extra hands in the classroom when we're doubling the program. On the other side, it's an extra lift and extra time for us. And so when we discussed it, prior to that, we actually charge the student teachers. The rate's on there if you open it up, Mike. It's $4,500 for student teachers is what we collect for the program. Our alumni have a discounted rate of $37.50. We collect that, and previously that was going straight to our cosmetology enterprise account, and it was used on the students' supplies and kits and all that kind of stuff that they order. So it's really no skin off our back. It's that of that money, we're going to take $1,250 to the organization, to us, and then put $2,500 basically into the enterprise account. And so their tuition that they pay is paying that teacher stipend. And basically it's 1 hour per week outside the school day for the 20 weeks that they're supervising a student teacher. Is where the rate's built off of. So that's that.
So is that's extra duty pay that's in the contract?
It's using the hourly rate in the contract, that curriculum hours of $44 an hour that we have built into the contract. It's using that and saying you're going to do an extra hour per week of supervising the student teachers for the 20 weeks that you have that. And that's how we're going to compensate them for that.
The only thing I'm just wondering, do we have any other programs that have student teachers? Because if you're going to do it for one program, you're going to have to do it for any that have it. This one seems to be the one that we get student teachers for.
This is the one we get because we have our own cosmetology school, and we're getting that teacher cosmetology license through us by doing the hours through us and through our school. If we get a student teacher that's like an IUP student teacher, they have a stipend typically that they give teachers teachers for being a cooperating teacher. I reached out actually to Clarion and got their rate. Their rate isn't as much as we are. Basically, our rate's gonna be an hour a week for 20 weeks, so that's like $880 over 20 weeks, that's $44 an hour. Their rate was in like 200, 250, was basically what they said, depending on what subject that they supervised.
So this is different because we have
Because we have the school, we are the school entity, that everything's going through for the licensing and the state board and their student teaching and so forth. So. We can also table this and think about it and review it. We don't have to do this. This is all new. It's completely new. It was brought to me by the instructors. And, I sat down with them and met with them for 2 hours basically, and we walked through what's it take, what do you need, what do you do, so forth. And I said, I always look at, before we go pay something, we want to make sure we have a revenue stream, right? So the revenue stream of their tuition was coming into us and going to the cosmetology program. So to me, it's like the cosmetology program's paying for this, although it's not going to run through that. Basically, 35% of that tuition rate goes to us, 65% goes to the enterprise account for cosmetology, and 35% then covers what we have to pay and then some for the $880 basically.
So prior to now, there was not a stipend for it?
Prior to now, there was no stipend. They never paid
still have it.
anything, and it's happened. The program's been in place, I don't know, the last 5 or maybe 7 years. I don't know exact history on it. Anybody?
So I guess what changed this year that we're changing?
It was always like 1 or 2 teachers. The teachers were happy to have them. Now it's like 6 of our kids that want to do it, and they're like, this is too much for us. Right? So if we're going to do 6 kids, like we're not going to take all 6. It's 20 weeks, which is half the year. We can take 2 in the front half, 2 in the second half. But this is a lot of work for us. And the benefit of having extra hands in the classroom
Doesn't outweigh that?
doesn't outweigh the time that it takes.
Okay.
State Board of Cosmetology, our license is still in process. And they're gonna come up and inspect our new lab and everything like that. It's kind of there's a lot of regulations around, let's put it that way.
So my question is, so since we never paid them before and it was only 1 or 2 extra hands, now we have 4, and now they want the stipend. Now is that going to move forward even if we only have 1 or 2 after this?
Yes, pretty much this is gonna be, we're always going to have this in there.
I know that Tom and Lee are mostly new instructors. Instructors previously, we've actually had pretty new instructors in that class. So they're arguing on their point versus the previous instructors didn't argue for this point, so I think that's reason,
they never asked.
right, they never asked, right.
Is this optimistically looked at as a retention tool as well for
Absolutely,
that teacher?
for future
For
teachers.
those future teachers.
It's a benefit to why do you go to us versus Noe Noonan.
Right.
The tuition's a lot less to go to us than Noe Noonan to get this teacher licensing. We have been collecting $37.50. There's been one student that wasn't one of our alumni in the last 5 years. But we've been collecting that $37.50. It goes to their enterprise. It's being spent on our students, right? So we've benefited, even though the organization didn't really get a cut of that. Whatever they spend in enterprise is one less cost that we have to do in supplies and, different things that way. So, the cosmetology enterprise is like the culinary enterprise. They're the most fluid, early childhood as well as preschool. They're the most fluid programs with kind of that enterprise account because they actually do services that people, exchange money for a little bit more than other programs. Yeah. Hard thing is it is precedent setting, like you said. So now we get a student teacher that's, someone else comes to us with a student teacher. We can always reject it, or we can say, we're glad to have the extra hands and help, and this has become something that maybe gets,
But the difference is, let's say you have a student teacher who wanted to come and student teach for pick something, welding,
well,
and
we're not the school of record.
we're not school record, so that would be a different situation.
What other programs do we
I mean, we're the school record for all of our programs, but as far as
For
the
student
teaching, student teach, and the body that then gets them what they need to be, have the teacher license, we're not that.
So that is specific to.
That's unique.
That's what's different about
That's what
this.
makes it standalone.
Yeah, we actually are operating cosmetology school within our school, and it's its own, own licensing, separate thing with the state. You know, like, none of our other programs have that.
So this is a completely different animal, so it's not really precedent setting for the other programs, it's only precedent.
Right, my only
This
concern is that a teacher at a different lab sees that, hey, getting this, they're getting an extra week of duty pay, for this. I have a student now from IUP that's gonna come into my lab, I'm gonna expect the same. I think we just need to be put clarifying language in here, that the reason we're doing it is this.
Is because
When
it's-
these student teachers leave, they're not going to any other
Yeah, they're
facility.
not.
They're gonna be licensed to be able to teach when they leave. Am I understanding that right?
Yes.
So
And
that's
it
what's
is-
different.
And it is significantly more work on the teacher than what.
And
somebody
we
else
don't
would
give
have.
them a degree, we don't give them anything, the license is to the state.
Right.
But the hours are run through our school in order to earn that license, through our cosmetology school.
Or you said 880 essentially per teacher.
For this year, our hourly rate in the collective bargaining agreement, as that changes, it just stays at that rate.
Right.
Basically, you're saying, hey, it's an hour of extra time a week.
Right.
Because they gotta document all their hours with the state board, they gotta enter all that stuff,
So there's paperwork.
that administrative paperwork side,
And
right?
at
So,
the end of the day, it's really coming out of their own account.
yes, they have a revenue source for it, so it's not like,
Well, less goes in that.
Right.
yes.
Right.
We actually, as an organization, you know, we're gonna get a couple $100, cause I, set the level so that it was,
Right now, but as that rate goes up, the hourly rate, if that's a static percentage, then that's gonna,
yes, we're never gonna do operate as a loss. We are gonna
so
come
that
back
may have
and,
to be adjusted.
yeah, that'll be adjusted, yep. And I did it as a 35%, 65%, because then all we do is then bump the tuition. Right now, the tuition's $4,800, and our discounted rate's $4,000.
We're setting that.
We said that. That's a choice that was made 7 years ago or so when they started this program. It runs through our adult ed, the tuition side of things. It runs through our RCTC.
The tuition for the entire program is
$4,500,
$4,500 for the entire program.
and we give an alumni discount of $3,750.
Okay.
Did you say it's 1 hour per week?
The 1 hour of work for our supervising teacher. It's 25 hours a week for the student teachers to be here on site working with students.
But they said they figured it's costing them an extra hour.
Yes, the paperwork and the stuff that they have to do to prepare and
Beyond the
we're
school.
back on and,
So that's an hour per week.
Yes, yes, that's what the rate's based on. Current rate, 1 hour per week outside of the school day times 20 weeks is what we are compensating them. It would be prorated if the student teacher drops out and doesn't finish it. We have the actual transcript record of the number of hours that they completed and so forth. That's uploaded weekly into the State Board of Cosmetology, website under the person, the student's ID number and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we have a transcript to say, okay, the person dropped out, didn't finish the program. Well, they completed, instead of 900 hours, which is a requirement, whatever it is, 500 hours or something like that. It's,
But it's gonna be $880 per teacher, not per student.
no, yeah, it's
That's per student.
per student that they get, per student teacher that they have, they're gonna get 1 hour a week for 20 weeks to supervise that student teacher.
But we're
So
only
if they have 2 student teachers under the 1 teacher, we have 2 teachers, right? So we're basically saying we can take 2 student teachers. One gets assigned to each teacher at a time, and it's half a year. And then we can do a second set, the second half a year, so we can run 4 teacher, pending teachers.
But in
Through
a
the
year's
program.
time, that our teacher is gonna make an extra $880.
times
Per
times
person they
two,
supervise.
Times 2 probably.
So our person will get an extra
So really, it's
1760. If they supervise two, and if they finish the program, and if they don't, like I said, we have that transcript of they completed 300 of the 500 hours, that's X amount of weeks in its program.
What if that student wants to come back and finish the program? What if they have to leave for one reason or another?
They can totally come back and finish their hours, if it's within the nexus, it's the state board that decides that. But if they're coming back and finish their hours, they're not gonna get 880, they're gonna get the balance of hours.
Okay. And does the student then have to pay the entire 4,500 again, or do they pay that reduced rate?
I'm gonna guess we're not gonna charge tuition twice, we're gonna be very understanding, we haven't had that situation, but within the nexus of time, right? If it's 3 years later, we'll probably prorate tuition, we just haven't run into that, they usually finish. Because when you're on the hook for that level of tuition,
Right.
you've paid, you're gonna work your tail off and finish it, you know?
I'm just curious
time
because if they
costs
already had that money in
$500.
and then they paid it again, they might have to come back to finish. And then, so we're not really getting that revenue twice.
Nor do we need it twice. Because the revenue one time will cover whatever we're gonna pay that teacher. I have it right in there, will be prorated if the student teacher does not finish
Based
the
on, okay,
program.
all right, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm sure this is covered in the agreement that was a few years ago, I just don't remember, but these student teachers are gonna be over 18, so they're.
Yeah, they're graduates already, so these,
And they
They're
get all their
getting
certificates and
full
everything?
background checks and all that,
yes,
just like an
yes,
employee.
we get all their, they actually become on our sub list, we actually run them through our sub list and do all the background checks and so forth. And, you know, then when the teacher's out, we use them as the teacher of record for the day a lot of times. Anything to add there?
And then do they
We
get-
get-
do they
We
get-
do all the protections. to
So
make
do they
sure-
get paid the sub rate while they are,
If they
something that-
are the teacher of record for
that's
the
what I'm
day.
asking, okay,
If we have no teacher there and they're the one that's running the class,
okay,
then we would pay them the sub rate.
okay.
I'm on board with the concept of a stipend. I would prefer if we eliminated the 1 hour per week by 20 weeks, if we just said stipend is a flat $880 per student per semester. Then there's no argument of, well, I have 2 hours in, or I have this in later down the road. We have a flat stipend rate per student teacher.
But can we do that based on
Prorated.
their contract?
I mean, this is unique to the process, right? We can say that we got to the number, because this is not something that's negotiated, this is outside of the contract, per se.
It's not in the fact that they have to turn in a timesheet and stuff, is how we were looking at this work. They're gonna turn in a timesheet for their hour a week, and they're only gonna be approved to up to an hour a week. So that's how I was running it.
The flip side of it is, that gives you the flexibility if that student
Yeah.
does not finish. Because if, let's say that person, that student teacher goes for 3/4 of this session and you've already committed to the 880, when really she's gonna
Yeah.
commit to the 650 or whatever it might be.
So I'm gonna make a suggestion, we table this, and then we work out whatever language anyone would like to see, and we kind of work with our solicitor and labor attorney and say, how are we doing this? In my mind, we were good because we were using the approved hourly rate for extra time in our contract, $44 an hour for curriculum hours that we use.
We're maxing the hours.
And I was doing it based on the length of time of the program of student teaching, which is 25 hours per week for 20 weeks. And we were saying we would give up to that. And they have to turn in a timesheet, and we have all that back documentation. So it's not automatically they get 880 per teacher. They're turning in timesheets, we're monitoring it, and we're cutting it off at.
I think it's a good idea as to early return. Just because you don't want all of a sudden them to say it's an hour and a half, now we're having agreements, and this is requiring more. I don't ever want to get into how long does it actually take you to do this role? We just set a price for the role. Because once you start to set a time limit, then when you start being outside of the time limit, then comes some other challenges.
But as Stephen said, what if the,
I think you can prorate that.
Yeah, you still,
If
you
it's
still
80
writing it
based
prorated.
on that
If they
many
only
hours,
complete
if
so
they
many
only do
weeks of
2/3
program,
of it, they get
prorated
2/3 of
Yeah.
the
for the
stipend.
number of weeks completed.
I built the rate off of what they said the lift in the workload was.
And I think
And
that's
I
a,
was justifying it in terms of what we had in the contract. We don't have a stipend type scenario in the contract for different things, outside of NTHS and Skills USA. So that's why I didn't want to do a stipend. I wanted to just say, we're using our hourly rate that's in the contract. However, we can always go and do an MOU with our union, and we could add stipends for certain things that we wanted to and build off that. So that's why I didn't do the stipend, because to me that's an MOU, whereas the hourly rate's something that's already approved, and we're just using that process to compensate them for
Will
their
an
time.
MOU cost us more money in the long run to have an MOU versus doing a stipend?
Doesn't cost money, it's.
No, I mean, these people would be happy, we could just do the MOU and say the stipend's 500, supervised student
I'm not,
teachers.
so I'm not against how you got to the number, I think the way you got to the number, and the way the hours, and work with the staff, I think that's all great. I'm just looking at exposure later in life, what happens when it's a different teacher? What happens when program requires more all of a sudden? I'm always thinking, what's my risk exposure later?
Correct, and that's why I didn't want to do the MOU in the contract, because once you put in a stipend to supervise student teachers in the contract, all members have access to that, right? To me, this is, you guys are approving that, hey, we have this program, we're gonna pay an hour per week for the hourly rate to supervise these teachers. If someone else comes and says, well, I'm supervising teachers, no. You know what I mean? Like, I can say no and not like, well, why does one get the stipend and one doesn't when it's written in the contract? Does that
My
make
initial
sense?
concern, my initial questions.
Yeah.
Where I think that's why we got to clarify why this is different than anything else.
It's like right with the stipend, right? You're the football coach. You can't ask for the stipend if you're coaching basketball. Like you write the MOU in a fashion that it's a one-time, non-binding scenario. And at the end,
At the hourly rate though, anything above and beyond in the contract, we can say no to. We don't have to pay them the hourly rate, as long as in advance we have clearly articulated, right? No, we're not paying for you for this work anymore. Like, we're not paying you, now not anymore, because there's challenges there, but it's saying, okay, this was an ask, this is a situation, we were willing to use the contracted rate for extra time, $44 an hour. You know, it's like let's say we have detention, we pay a teacher $44 an hour to supervise detention, and then we no longer have detention, we don't have to pay. No one's doing the work to earn that money. So that's why I was going hourly rate versus stipend. Because on the other side of things, stipend, if they do the work and they're the designated person and they do a piss poor job and don't put any hours in, they still get the stipend. Unless you just cause a
With the
fight.
time card is what he's tracking it with.
Yeah,
all
so
that.
that's why I was doing it that way.
I know,
They'll
but,
turn time cards in and put no work in.
Right.
An hour's an hour, it doesn't mean you're
but
productive
to
in an
your
hour.
point you're saying is, look, in 3 years'
Yeah,
time,
whatever
the
the-
teacher may come back and say, no, it takes me 2 hours every time to do it. You know, so, but that's where you could say, look, we're already giving you this, we can, you know,
I think you're
we'll just
good.
cut.
The whole key though, to me, is that there's a tuition there's a revenue generator.
Yeah.
And so if they come back and ask for 2 hours, then I'm gonna revise the fact that, hey, we were taking the split
Right.
to cover cost. So now, they originally asked if they could come and pay themselves from the enterprise account. And I said, no. No, you're not paying yourself. Well, can't you pay me on a 1099? I can get paid through the enterprise. No, you're a W-2. You can't get a 1099 from us and a W-2.
No.
And I'm looking at Jess, they're like, whoa. I'm like, no, go talk to Jess. No. So I thought it was cleanest to use the hourly rate with the time card. You know, we have, and we're gonna draft a little one-pager to sign ahead of time, that they know that it's up to 1 hour per week. They cannot claim anything more to supervise a student teacher. Otherwise, we're not approving the student teacher to work here. Like, we're not approving the person to come in. You know, we have kind of that control over the entire program in that fashion. The revenue's coming in from the tuition. It's not costing the organization a dime. However, we are getting a little, like, right? We're gonna get a little extra kick.
I just think that it's good. I just wanna, I'm just asking, let's make sure it's written the right way so that it's good and it's good today and in the future.
I understand, this does have 2024, we could put 2024, 2025 on the top. So it's 1 year, let's try for a year, and if we need to, we can revise it. Either from their
Yeah.
perspective or our perspective.
So let's table it.
One-year try.
Yeah.
I look at Pat, we'll go through language and make sure we're good, and then we'll get like the little agreement in place that we're signing in advance to say we're gonna pay this rate and so forth. Because another thing that I've talked to the union about is that $44 an hour language in the contract. And right now it says curriculum hours. Well, what's curriculum hours, right? And we use that rate for all the stuff that we ask people to do extra. And not all of it is curriculum based.
Homeschool, we call it a extra duty. That way, the extra duty is anything and everything. It can be curricular, it
It
can
could be
be
detention, it could be,
detention,
yeah,
lunch duty,
Recess.
whatever.
tutoring,
If we're buying your lunch break because we need you to sit, that's extra.
cover a
duty.
class. Yes, that's the rate
Cover
we
a
use
class.
for covering a class.
So maybe we need to, when we renegotiate, we need to change that language to just extra duty, if that's what
Right.
we're already utilizing.
That's why I was worried about calling it state, because it's definitely not state.
Right, so, all right, so let's table it and then we'll go and work through the language and the way we want it to look. And, you know, and I use the 65%. We could say in order to do this, we wanna go 50-50. We wanna collect more as the organization of that tuition, right? I mean, right now, we're gonna be collecting like $1,250 and to pay the fees and stuff like that, it's like $1,100 that we're paying now.
Pay that, and you're paying,
With the
Retirement
fees or
board.
retirement, yeah. With the reimbursement rates, 17, whatever.
We only have.
Jess is smiling at me because I get into the percentages, I'm a math guy.
50%, you know, something like that.
Still 50% markup, not 17.5.
We don't even have a table, like, we just move to the agenda.
Well, however you guys decide to do it, let's keep rolling through here. The TAP agreement is our annual agreement with the state for support and so forth through the Bureau of Career and Tech Ed. We get a lot of supports and that's all that is we're agreeing to do that stuff. The Dodge Durango, so that Dodge Durango is on municipal and it's for the amount of $8,938, a 2020 Dodge Durango. It's for the school police officer to have a vehicle to drive around. It's a former police officer, it's out of Hampton Township, so that's what we're asking for approval there.
We have one building campus, why do we need a police vehicle?
Because she had one,
Yeah.
and that way, she also peruses, we've used her in the past for student situations, taking students down home and that kind of stuff. So that's what we were going with.
It's
We have
also,
a car,
We do have a school car.
We have a
It's
van.
used- We have a school car that's used by our co-op coordinator to go do visits just about every day, if not.
will she be taking this vehicle home? Will this be her
She's
first
not
vehicle to
taking
come
this
back
vehicle
from
home.
school?
This is a car that's, for our school police, for her to man and move different places. She parks it for student arrival and dismissal. But then we also have utilized this vehicle for then all the different trips that we do. Because there are, I know we have co-op that goes out 3 to 5 days a week to different businesses. But then we have conferences, we have this that we go
How many
to.
does it
So
sit?
how much does it sit? It's a Dodge Durango, so at least sits 2 seats worth.
Well, that's what I'm asking, is it
Yeah.
a king cab, is it?
It is
Well, that's, the rentals will have to keep going.
It is 5 comfort,
No, I
I
don't
can tell you
drive
that.
5 to 7.
They're like places like a Blazer or.
It's like an SUV.
Oh, it's like an SUV.
Yeah, like basically a suburban,
This
small,
this is
small
not a-
suburban ones.
an outfitted vehicle, it's not with lights and this, the decommissioned cruiser.
It is a former police vehicle, and we are going to get it to where it's suited, it looks like a police vehicle. The visibility is what Matt said, and just having that car on President's, that marks school police on it, we're gonna get the decals on it, we're gonna get that, just the presence alone. It's a used car, 120,000 miles, 2020.
How many of everybody else's districts are using a vehicle? Yeah.
We got one.
We have one.
With 2.
They have two.
Did you reach out to, Missouri City?
We got good kids down there. We got good kids down there.
No,
Because I know that
We have good kids down there.
as Mill Creek has replaced their
Most
students'
radios.
vehicles, they have donated them to the school district. We have not bought a vehicle.
we have not reached out to
They
anybody.
decommission their vehicles every 3 to 4 years. They donate them to us. So I don't disagree that you should have a vehicle for visibility. But you might be able to get one for free from one of the local
Try to buy it.
So it was 3 years ago. I don't know if I'll check and see if we reached out.
We brought that by theirs.
I mean, depends on, you know, alignments of fleets. And
I was gonna
we
say,
may be
Milford
fortunate
also
because
has their own
we have a
police
police department. Port Augusta does not.
Yeah, we will have a police department of one.
If we bid on this, part of one Josh.
We've already been on the auction.
Okay, never mind. Good point.
Next.
It's time. When this one needs
Yes.
to be replaced, maybe we look to see if there's local vehicles that are
In
commissioned.
doing the school police, we said that we were gonna have a budget to get things and get the car and so forth like that. And we knew we were gonna have that left, we talked about that, so. Yeah.
Good job, buddy.
We have not, I mean, we've been in one of the auction yesterday, so this is very fresh.
So you're on the hook.
Well, we are on the hook, but we haven't paid anybody, so there is an opportunity to back out of the deal or so forth for municipal. At a cost. Okay. There's a list of field trips on there, student handbooks on there. Content's the same, it looks a little different than it has in the past, we just rewrote it, reorganized it a little bit. And that's the operations side of the agenda. We have the hiring and transfers, we have quite a long list there under the next section. We're very happy to be able to say that we have all our professional staff positions filled currently, knock on wood. We have all but 3 of our support staff. 2 are the part-time custodian positions, there's actually more than that, but if we approve tonight to move to a full-time custodian, which we have on there, then we only have 2 unfilled part-time positions in the long run. We have 1 instructional aid position that's unfilled at this point, and then that's all of our positions. So there's a whole long list there. Anybody have any questions?
You have some resignations or anything like that?
We do.
What were they for?
We had.
I didn't know, I kind of looked them up.
So we unfortunately lost a couple of our instructional aides. One was here for quite a while and she cried and was very upset. Amanda Brown, she did a great job with us. She resigned. Danelle Betcher was an aide that resigned. And the other 2 that are custodial, part-time custodians that started and now are resigning, all on the same agenda, they didn't work out, right? They started,
That's fine.
missed time, and we, you know, one of them was legit. We were gonna be his second job. He's having a baby, and he needed money, so he started with us, and then after a week, he said, he's in an apprenticeship program, he says, just too much, I can't do it all. And, you know, the James Form was legit. He didn't stop showing up and so forth. The other one missed some time, and we just said, we're not, can you resign, or we're gonna move to terminations.
Yeah, apparently Gen Zs don't resign anymore, they just stop showing up.
Maybe for home day.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's a whole TikTok thing about it, just don't go to work.
And then, E on there is combining 2 positions to be a full-time position in custodian. I shot some of that information out on an email to you guys. And the lift is very similar to lift, it's the benefits, right? And, you know, we believe we can absorb that lift with the fact that we did some things in the budget this year to add a position that's currently not filled. And so that money is there to absorb that lift. We think we'll have more stability and better quality of service. If we don't move this direction, then we have 3 part-time positions that are unfilled. We have one of our part-timers that we may lose if we don't. He wants to go to full-time and so forth. And we just hired him last summer. He's the one that we would bring to you next month because we got to post it and bid it and all that kind of stuff. But most likely he'll be the one to fill the position because he bid on it when we hired the last full-time position. So that's on there. That's it. And then while we're talking reports, I might as well do my leadership report now. It's our leadership report. Is Julie still cleaning up? So,
She's on her way.
so moving forward, Julie did a report, I did a report, and we stepped on each other's toes and we spent time revising, you know, because she had something and I had something. So to be more efficient, moving forward, we're gonna do 1 report between the 2 of us. We report on most of the same stuff, so that's the idea behind it. I shot some emails out, information to you in between meetings. We haven't met since June about the golf outing, the sponsorship plan. We have actually had some sponsorships come through, which we're pretty excited about. We looked at the 5 years of legal services. That was a request from last meeting. Principal meetings are on there. Julie, all right, she's back. There you are. You have information on there about our principal meetings and when we do those. We had one in July. We did our new staff orientation. Keep going, Mike, we're good. There's all the new staff, lots of people. We did a new student orientation last night. You guys already heard about that. Awesome scenario. It worked out really well last night. Ribbon cutting ceremony last night. I appreciate everyone that was here. We had a couple superintendents, 3 board members. Talked about the heavy metal rodeo already, community open house. And then we have some student spotlights. These are students that work for us this summer, Cole Emmerich and Abby Esser. And then the other 4 are students that are out there on co-op through the summer, really doing great things. And lastly is the renovation report. Does anybody have questions on anything with me? We're just working through those last couple punch lists and got a lot of furniture in the last month. Some things are still delayed. And then a thank you to Dennis O'Brien, who was our clerk of the works for the last 11 months. His contract will close August 31st. We'll be done with him as our clerk of the works. However, we are going to bring him back on one other day. Frank doesn't know this yet, to do a transition with Frank and pass off all the architect, the engineers. Frank and him, we're going to have a meeting one day to pass off all the punch lists and so forth that are not complete. So it'll be one day to pass that. Just conversating with him. Any questions on my report? On our report? Sorry, Julie. Anything you want to add, Julie?
I think that covers it. Other than that, I'd just like to brag about last night. Last night was our very first new student orientation, along with the ribbon cutting, and I was pleasantly surprised with how fantastic the orientation went. It was standing room only in here for parents. It was wonderful. So.
Completely different than the other ones I've attended.
Whole different vibe, huh?
Oh, wow.
Well, new student orientation versus dinner with the teacher in the spring when they get accepted was all of Julie's brainchild, so she deserves all the credit.
We've had new student orientation a little bit different. I just want to make one comment. How much of the remodeling is not completed?
It's a punch list. We're substantially complete, like 99%. Are you talking funds or are you talking?
Cosmetology.
Oh, cosmetology. Cosmetology is there. Right now, we're just installing the lockers that came in for their new locker room.
It looked like it was actually last night.
I know that. Yes.
Okay, but and then, okay, so that's cosmetology is the only one really, because I went down to healthcare.
Yep.
Is that pretty well figured out?
It is, but it isn't, but it is.
Okay.
So if you recall in the move down there, we're not going straight to 48 students in year 1. We're going, we ramp up at 20 to 40 to 48, right? So that you have them over 3 years. So with that, adding the students next year, we have 2 classrooms that were side by side that was professional skills in math. They've moved other places. And they're side by side. So we're calling one the theory room and one the lab. And they're building that. With the move, they're building the one side into lab. But it's going to be lab/theory. And they also have access to another classroom that we have a computer lab around the corner to use for theory. But over the next year, then, we're going to take that back space behind precision machining, and our kids are going to build that into the health lab.
Okay, because that's what we talked about. I
So,
was here, and you told me it's going to be over there, and I come in and it's over here.
so for this year, we have a classroom that's a theory room and a classroom that's a lab, and it's a small lab.
Yeah.
And then after the end of this year, then they'll have 2 classrooms for theory. Health is a huge theory, a lot of theory in the health one. And then they'll have the space across the way as their hospital room type setup lab.
Right, because that's what we talked about last time I was here.
So the hard thing about setting up these spaces, one, we ordered a ton of stuff in May and June. And everything was supposed to be here in July and get installed. The supply chain, almost every order, they're saying it's not in yet, it's not in yet, it's not in, it's gonna be delayed, it's gonna be delayed. We just got those lockers in a week ago, they were ordered in June. right at the beginning of June. They said it was, 30 days out. We ordered it, here we go. The whole furniture on this wing, we ordered in May. They said they're not gonna get it till the end of September, and then we ended up getting it last week. So our guys have been hopping and doing a great job. So cosmetology will be finished by next Tuesday. I'm fully confident. There will be some things we have to button up and touch up that our kids are gonna do. The units that we ordered in May for cosmetology, the new dual-sided, whatever they call stations where they sit on either side with a mirror, those will not be in until the end of September. So they're using their old stations in the meantime, so.
That's the cosmetology one, I'm kind of worried about. Like I said, you get it figured out, but it was, that's the only thing I was, cosmetology, so it's the only one I was disappointed, the parents came in and see what it looked like. I hope they don't come back and scream like that, the other ones look, livable. I mean, and hopefully, are we gonna get all the signage for the rooms? Because, like, I was out directing, this was one example, it said, pure, technology and programming one, and they were actually backwards, they're trying to direct people to computer programming class, and the signing was opposite, so, of course, luckily, the students came out, oh, this is networking and this is programming, and they didn't sign, because we all had,
What sign are you talking
there was no signs on the doors, when you go up there, when we went
about? Oh,
up.
there's no signs on the doors.
Yeah, when you go up there and the signs are posted and paper ones, and it said, computer programming and networking, but they were actually in the opposite rooms, so you could look at the new signs. They were on the right side, but they were like,
It's
okay.
only for you.
The kids probably switched it.
Oh, I don't know, it's just when you're trying, you're trying to.
Because they're just paper signs.
Trying to direct parents and stuff like that.
Okay.
We have, what's really strange, they're supposed to start, doors open at 5:30, I'm out there directing, and they were trying to talk to people, somebody's showing up, and they said they got invited to show up at 6:30, but I've had that before, the last year when I was doing it, somebody showed up at 6:30, we started at 4:30, and luckily the teacher was still here, and he got to talk, I think that was another of the parents. I said it worked great, but it was.
It worked well considering there was 1,000 people there. I'm sure there's some hiccups. And as far as the signs go, Julie and I will review that. I'm gonna guess they put up some paper signs just to.
Yeah, right, they're paper signs still.
Our teachers aren't even in yet, right? So new student orientation occurred before a single teacher day has occurred, right? So in hindsight, I wish we would have made our teacher in service day yesterday so that they could be here for the day and then they would be more
Next year.
prepared. So again, exactly next year.
Yeah, so people said they were knocking at the door, they said doors open at 5:30 and then people at 4:30 here.
Are there supposed to be permanent signs that says what's allowed?
We do not have those. Looking at Julie, just from experience, we do not have signage that says on the labs that says this is what they are.
That is correct. On the signs from the renovation project, there is a gap, a clear space for us to slide in a piece of paper to put the program name, to put the
It's just right
instructor's name.
underneath where it says.
Not very
06.
big. You can make something just like this. Yeah, they're not that expensive.
There's a lot of options we can have. We can review that and, maybe that's something we do down the road. The kids are here every day in the program, they know where they're going. It's just when you have like 442 kids and parents that it might have been confusing. So
Yeah.
we'll look at that for next year. I know we strategically tried to place, we had someone on Great Hall, someone on Gold Hall, someone on Blue Hall.
Yeah, we had enough people, but like I said, there was a person that came in, they were literally.
At 5:15.
No, this came at 6:30.
Oh, it's 6:30.
They came in at 6:30 and they said, well, we're supposed to be here at 6:30. I said, I didn't argue with that. I said, they asked me where to go, and I said, well, luckily I was here long enough to figure out where to go. And you guys were trying to do other stuff. I know it was overwhelming because of the amount of people, but I think it worked out great. But I'm just telling you some of the glitches I noticed, okay?
No,
There's
always
my
glitches.
observation, and I mean, that cosmetology lab, the parents went down to see, they were meeting in our Eagles Nest, okay? So they weren't even in the conference, they were studying.
We have them in Eagles West because the lab's not that.
Right, but I think we're gonna be, their room's gonna be across the street, across the aisle.
Correct. And that's, yes. And that's where the lockers are
Yeah.
being installed, we installed 150 lockers.
Yeah.
for them, new lockers.
This August is much smoother than last August, so next August will be even better.
Yeah. So by Tuesday, it'll look completely different, because we're literally getting orders in every single day that were ordered months ago. And I can't, and I actually said to myself tonight, Frank, when I was walking down the hallway and saw you with your staff, I said, I would like to have the custodial maintenance staff here at the next meeting for a public, like, celebration of what they've put up with the last 3 years, what they've done to make things happen last minute. And 2 years ago, I wasn't here, but I know on Sunday night before school started, all of those administrators, almost all of them were here, moving furniture, doing stuff. Last year, we were hiring football teams. This year, we have not had to do any of that, but it doesn't mean we're still not reaping the end of the renovation furniture orders. Like, it just keep being delayed. And part of it is my fault. Part of it is not pulling the trigger on placing the order maybe in March when I could have, and doing, there was a lot of other moving parts in your first year that wanted to be comfortable before I pulled triggers on, $100,000 worth of equipment, right, for this order now. So, we are very excited to open school with 441 students. Dennis, I would like to invite you to come on Tuesday at 3 o'clock and see the cosmetology lab at the end of the day.
No, I'm making some observations,
Yes.
you don't wanna hear nothing from me, I won't say nothing more.
No, I'm promising you that we will have it looking great.
Cut me a break.
Can you make Dennis more beautiful?
I've been
You know
trying,
what, you're
hey,
good for a haircut.
I've been trying to get in there for the last 2 years. It's like, I'm training the other person, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, we're doing some testing. So,
That's what he's really upset about.
Yeah, that's what it is.
The lockers aren't, he can't get
No,
his
he
hair
wants, he wants somebody to cut his hair and make him look pretty, that's the
I
problem.
don't need to look for it.
Okay.
Do we need
Can
to
we
circle
give a
back to
lifetime
your
or-
report? Do we want any more discussion on the legal fees that we put the email? This is where you were gonna discuss that if anybody has any questions or.
And I have questions on any of the information I sent out.
Very good.
Okay. All right, with that, that kind of ends our discussion. We can go to the actual meeting.
Let's go to executive first.
Sounds good.
That's why we don't have
Okay.
No, I wasn't at it. It was, no, you,
Our meeting was after.
yeah, it was,
Because the budget was way forth.
yeah, you're right, it was after, but it was open house for one of our schools.
Last year?
Yeah.
Last year, I think we had this meeting after the school.
Could have been, depending on how the Thursday.
Yeah, right.
My memory's not that good. I can't hear school start next week.
Last year was August 24th. And we had an in-service training on August 24th.
Terry gave me permission to start. She's out. So we can get started. Let's start with the longer. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. McManus. Mr. Fortin.
Present.
Dr. Wise.
Present.
Mr. Ostianic.
President,
Ms. Brink.
She's here.
She's here.
Mr. Koblenz. Mr. Lindner.
Here.
Mr. Boyd. Mr. Ring.
Here.
Mr. Gilbert.
Here.
Mr. Morvay.
Here.
Just prior to our calling this meeting in order, we had an executive session for personnel and also some contract talks. Mention that. Under amendments, let's publicly remove 7D from the agenda. Dennis, won't that work?
eight,
right?
nine.
Nice. I wrote 7D because I thought.
7 is important items.
You're right, sorry, 9D. Remove 9D, which is the cosmetology something or other. Instructor stipend, we'll remove that from the agenda. We can vote on that because it's on the paper. So if somebody wants to make a motion to move that,
Second, Dennis.
moved and seconded, any discussion? All those in favor of removing that signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Meeting minutes.
Motion. Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion or corrections? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Student accomplishment highlights, anything more you want to highlight there? Guest and public comment, anybody like to address the board?
Oh, I'm here, Kat.
Important items coming to ECTS. Anything else? You have the, this heavy metal rodeos, 9/28, but in your report you said the 26th, 27th, 28th, right?
Yes, so 26th, we're hosting the PUCA, which is Pennsylvania Utility Controllers Association, kind of Western region meeting.
During the day?
It'll be a dinner meeting that night at 7 o'clock.
That's our meeting, right?
That's our meeting then as well, yes.
Right.
Yes.
So can we have a little rodeo that night too, maybe amongst board members?
I wanna get in. Awesome. Give me the keys, man.
I look at Mr. McManus, because he's.
my shirt, dude.
No.
We have instructor,
You have plenty of room out there.
board member insurance, so we should be fine. I'm going out of town the next day, I really would like to participate, so let's do it, it's part of it.
So that's set up, basically. They come, they set things up, and then we're gonna have that little dinner meeting for their regional meeting for PUCA on Thursday night. And then Friday, our students will engage with the operators and the equipment that are here. Our students will not run equipment, they will just be able to learn about from the different providers, what career opportunities and so forth that they have, and see the equipment and so forth. 7th grade field trips are available for our 7 districts to come on that day as well. We chose 7th grade because we already do something in 3rd grade, do some piloting some things in 5th grade last year, which we kind of liked. We're just going to model it off of that scenario. We already bring 9th graders here already, so So that's why it's open to our districts to bring 7th grade field trips on that day. They're just gonna basically tour the outside, tour the inside, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever the district wants to do, depending on the options that they choose. From just seeing the heavy equipment to touring the building to actually having student panels talk to them, which really was kind of I had to push out. We'll get that out. They do know about the event, just not the details. And then Saturday is the community event. We'll have some food trucks here. It's basically 9 to 2. And at 10 a.m. we do a heavy metal rodeo, which are the operators that are certified operators competing in a little heavy metal rodeo games, like painting a name on a piece of glass and doing obstacle course of things and so forth. We have a series of games. Try not to break your glass. Do a paintbrush and try to put ECTS on glass. So there's going to be a series of games and some fun. We're going to have our obstacle course for kiddos, a little mini mutter course we're talking about. All that's going to be kind of let our programs and our students run. So we're going to all involve like our sports therapy, plan this out. Let's do this. The fundraising part of it is $5 to bring a car load and park. Just use a word and make that the fundraising thing. So we have a couple kids man parking, and we have pretty good access in that we can put $5 on either side. And there we go, food trucks and everything. That's the plan. Shivers is the driving factor. Shivers. Say that wrong every time.
It's like you got the shivers. Think of Ed Sheeran.
Shivers. I know, but it always starts with she. But anyhow, Shivers is the driving factor. They want to expose kids to opportunities in heavy equipment and so forth. Okay. One seed I did want to plant today that I forgot in my report was what's next in new programming is a discussion that we're going to start having at superintendent level. We'll bring it out to you. We still have that space that's open through the renovation that we added. So heavy equipment is one of those ones on the option.
Well, you're bringing 7th graders out, so by the time they get here in 10th grade, you got 3 years to get that program.
Yep.
That's easy.
There's a lot of opportunities and programs. I'm not sure if that's the one, but we're going to have those discussions.
Nothing new under Operation Old Business. So then we have Operation New Business. Looking for motion for A, B, C, E, F, G, H. So that would all be under I.
So moved. Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion, questions on any of those items? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Business Manager Report.
Okay, as of July 2024, our general fund balance is $3,371,252.58. Our capital projects fund is at $3,091,091.78. Our student activities are at $8,845.67, and our benefit accounts are at $15,157.57. We have received for the first month 8% of our revenue, 6% of our revenue, and expended 2%.
Any further on the treasurer's report?
No, it's just the same thing now, yeah.
Any questions?
Summarize.
Payable, open invoice payable, statement of activities, Visa procurement call, card payment. So G's approval of all of those items.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and double seconded. Take a break. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Administrative Services and Human Resources.
Lots of stuff in there. We're very happy that we're fully staffed on our professional side.
So we have policies, and we have hiring and transfers, resignations and retirements, custodian combination. So F would approve all of those.
So moved.
More by second.
Moved and second, any questions? Discussion, any of those items?
Now they don't.
Is this where we're gonna make the part-time, full-time?
Combining
them two.
Oh, no, no.
Two part-times into one. Any other questions, comments, discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Superintendent's report.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Ring. I want to echo what others have already said, despite the fact that Dr. Wise and I were otherwise disposed last night at a myriad of events at GM. By 9:15 this morning, word had already gotten to me through our high school staff about how fantastic the event was here last night. In terms of feedback from parents, talking about just in terms of transition, what a wonderful experience they had here and how comfortable they felt coming after having spent the evening here. So really kudos and hat tip to the crew here for that event. That word got out really quick about how well that went. And that's a testament to Matt and his administration, I think, to being nimble, to kind of threading that needle between providing programming that is what students want, while also in the context of what employers need. And that's not always the easiest thing to do, but that's an ongoing, evolving conversation. And just to bring it full circle to kind of what you talked about before, we're looking forward to that next conversation about this, what's next in terms of that space and what's available, because there's a lot of opportunities out there. And that record enrollment, it's not an accident. That's hard work by people here. That's hard work back at your home buildings, your high school administration, and middle school administration, talking to students about what is going on here and how fantastic the programming is, and that's a testament to y'all as well with that. So none of that is an accident. That's just a lot of hard work to get us to that point. So GM did have a 71% increase in its enrollment over the last 3 years. Matt did offer to give me an extra bottle of water at dinner tonight. We appreciate it.
I said I can put a sign up for reserved parking.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, yeah, we'll see. But no, we're really looking forward to that conversation with Matt moving forward about what these next programs are.
What a way. Daughters coming to school, that was the highlight of the whole show last night, meeting his daughter.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Coming to the high school, right?
She's a good girl.
Yes.
When she's sleeping.
I thought she was on the staff here. I thought she was on the
I
staff
said
here.
the same thing about my daughter.
I thought she was on the staff here working. No, I'm a student.
We record.
Dr. Weiss?
Pretty impressive.
You're allowed an extra bottle of water too.
And I shared last year the market share of us compared to how Warren County, Venango County, and Crawford County, and I looked at those three counties, of high school students going to vocational school. And, we're like half of what they're going. So, we should grow, and quite frankly, we really have to have strong discussions about programs, because I really believe we could add 3 or 4 programs over, 1 or 2 each year. And they would fill and be very valuable to the workforce.
And I was just talking to our principal this morning about this, and unintended consequence of the great programming here, which is a really good problem to have, is what that master schedule looks like at our high school. Because before, stereotypically or traditionally, there were certain courses always paired opposite AM or PM ECTS. Now the good problem to have is there are so many advanced students coming to ECTS, that schedule no longer works. And so that schedule, that schedule has to evolve to meet the needs of the changing population coming here, which is a great change, actually. It just evolved, so good problems to have, absolutely.
Anything more leadership report? Solicitor's report.
Nothing to report other than Jessica and I spoke on the phone about the agenda. That's it.
Approval of report section of the agenda, D.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion, questions about any of that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Supplemental reports, we've got some different things there. Is there anything more that we need to move on?
Fundraising. 14B.
14B, fundraising, nothing else under that whole section?
No, that's just.
So 14B fundraising, somebody like to make that motion?
So moved.
It's listed up there for what we've got. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I don't see a dunk tank
Opposed?
with a big bag of goldfish.
I'll say it carries. I
So
think
moved,
they're
sorry.
kinda sidetracked. All right, anything else for the good of the order? Not I entertain 17.
Motion.
Second.
Moved and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Meeting's adjourned. Have a lovely birthday of school, everybody.
Yeah.
Let's make
Our kids started Monday. Yeah, right, I saw that. Yes.
Maybe, I guess.
Yeah, Monday.